I first met Isabella, the woman who would later become my wife, when I was 24 years old, not 20, as some might assume. At the time, I had just finished my studies and had taken a job as a legal assistant at a construction site. Isabella, on the other hand, worked as a nurse at a nearby hospital. Our paths crossed through mutual friends, and what started as a simple introduction quickly turned into an intense and passionate romance. Within just 6 months, we were married. After our wedding, we moved into my mother's modest 3-bedroom apartment. Life wasn't easy, but we made do with what we had. A year later, we welcomed our first child, a son named Tony, and 2 years after that, our daughter Harper was born. Those early years were a mixture of joy, struggle, and unforgettable moments. Money was tight, and stable jobs were scarce. I took on whatever odd jobs I could find, while Isabella's nursing salary barely covered the essentials. We faced financial hardships, but we stood together, determined to build a better future. Then one day, an old classmate reached out to me with an opportunity that would change everything. He had started a construction business specializing in building wooden baths, saunas, and gazebos, and he needed help. There was plenty of work, and the pay was significantly better than what I had been earning. Life slowly began to improve. By the time the new millennium arrived, things had taken a positive turn. Eventually, my classmate decided to sell the business, and without hesitation, I seized the opportunity. It was a major turning point in our lives, marking the beginning of true financial stability. With our circumstances improving, Isabella made a bold decision. She left her nursing career to pursue a new passion, cosmetology. I supported her wholeheartedly, even purchasing a room for her to open her own beauty salon. It was a fresh start for both of us, and over time, our hard work paid off. Our children grew up quickly. Both graduated from university. Tony continued his studies at an institute before securing a job abroad, while Harper earned a degree in foreign languages and later married a man who, coincidentally, ended up working for me. They were thriving, and before long, we were blessed with grandchildren. A grandson first, then a granddaughter. Life felt complete. As I reached my mid-50s, I started contemplating the idea of slowing down. After decades of hard work, I was exhausted. My dream was simple: to retire in the countryside, grow my own vegetables, and spend time with my grandchildren. But while I longed for a peaceful life, Isabella had an entirely different vision. At 50, she had reinvented herself completely. She indulged in countless beauty treatments, to the point where I barely recognized her face anymore. While I focused on balance and self-care, she seemed determined to turn back time. One day, she confided in me that she wanted to experience all the luxuries she had missed out on when we were younger. She made it clear that she had no interest in discussing grandchildren or quiet retirement. I respected her wishes, even if they were vastly different from my own. However, I did manage to convince her to renovate our country house. She agreed and soon hired a designer to handle the project. She excitedly showed me the plans, and within weeks, the workers began major renovations. 3 months later, I was hit with shocking revelation. My accountant handed me an enormous bill for the renovation. It turned out that Isabella had instructed the designer to charge me directly under a contract I had unknowingly signed. When I confronted her, my frustration was evident. "Isabella, don't you think this designer's bill is excessive? Or did you somehow find the most expensive designer in town?" I asked, my irritation barely concealed. "He's the best," she replied, her tone sharp and defensive. I sighed, feeling the tension rise. "Honestly, it feels like we're paying him for his looks, not his skills. If you didn't like it, you should have handled it yourself," she snapped before hanging up the phone. Lately, it felt like we were living in two completely different worlds. While Isabella threw herself into new projects and endless studying, I found myself at home, trying to keep our family together. Despite our differences, I had made plans with our daughter and son-in-law to spend the summer at the country house. As a final precaution, I decided to install a security system to keep an eye on things remotely. One afternoon, out of curiosity, I checked the security footage from my work computer. What I saw left me frozen in place. There was Isabella, laughing and chatting closely with the designer, a man barely in his 30s, nearly half her age. Their interactions were too familiar, too intimate. They evaluated the renovation work together, sharing moments of laughter and what appeared to be affectionate exchanges. It was clear she was playing a dangerous game, completely unaware that I was watching. That evening, I confronted her. The conversation was brief. I simply told her I wished her the best in whatever life she chose. At first, she denied everything, but when I showed her the footage, she couldn't keep up the charade. Instead, she admitted the truth. "We love each other," she whispered, her voice filled with guilt. "This is the love of my life." A sinking feeling settled in my stomach. I had built a life with this woman, shared decades of memories, raised children together, only for her to throw it all away for a fleeting fantasy. Perhaps it's true what they say. Women aren't foolish because they're truly foolish, but because they're women. Soon after, I moved to the countryside, continuing to manage my business with the intention of passing it down to my son-in-law. I trusted him completely, and he proved to be a natural leader. Meanwhile, Isabella's designer lived extravagantly at her expense, surrounding himself with younger women while basking in the attention she lavished upon him. I could only wonder how long it would take before she realized the truth. A month ago, my daughter called me with news. "Dad," she said, hesitating. "He left Mom." As it turned out, the designer had found a better opportunity. He had moved on to the daughter of a local politician who was now pregnant with his child. Isabella, devastated and filled with regret, had been crying ever since. She wanted to return to her old life, but her pride wouldn't let her. Honestly, I didn't care anymore. I had made my peace with it. My children had their own complicated feelings toward their mother, but that was their problem, not mine. I had found solace in my quiet life outside the city, working at my own pace. Looking back, I realized that some things are simply out of our control. People change, dreams shift, and sometimes the life you build with someone falls apart despite your best efforts. But in the end, I chose peace over chaos. And for the first time in a long while, I felt truly free.